This is Richard Hoffman with BWE Firearms, and welcome to our first episode of Storytime with Mojave. And this is Mojave out for her hourly jaunt out in the sun. You've met Mojave. This is our first episode, and in this episode, I figure I'd talk about how I became a gunsmith. Since I get asked that question a lot. I decided to start doing these videos because every day around lunchtime I take Mojave out into our pool enclosure and let her be out in the sun and enjoy herself for about an hour. So I figured, well, if I'm going to be out here, might as well shoot some videos. So here we go. Let's give this a try and see how people like it. If you like the video, please hit the like button, subscribe, post comments, what you guys think. It's stupid, it's not stupid. Anything you'd like to hear me talk about. These are going to be stories from my life as a gunsmith. So, back when I was a little kid, I was kind of a weird little kid. Hi, Mick. My wife. So I was kind of a weird little kid, and when all the other little kids wanted to be firemen and police and cowboys and Indians and doctors, and their parents wanted them to be lawyers, I wanted to be a gunsmith. My grandfather was into guns. He was an avid skeet shooter. And my dad was into guns, and so naturally I kind of was too. And everybody thought it was, oh, it's so cute, he wants to be a gunsmith, ha ha ha. Oh, you can do whatever you want to do in life. So, as time went on, people convinced me that you can't be a gunsmith. You need to go to college. And this was in the mid 80s. So my parents said, you have to go to college. Well, I decided, okay, if I'm going to go to college, I'll go to college for wildlife management and become a game warden up in the state of Maine. Sounded good to me. So I went to University of Maine, started college, and about 3/4 of the way through my first year, Maine laid off a whole bunch of the people in wildlife management, in game wardens, everything else. I made some phone calls, talked to some people, and was basically told, go find something else to do because it ain't going to be this. They said even in 3 years when you get out of college, there's not going to be any jobs here in the state of Maine. And at that time, I really wanted to be in the state of Maine. So I, tried to figure out what I was going to do next. Was I going to change majors? Was I going to, do something else? And I was sitting there on my bed in my dorm room reading a American Rifleman, leafing through it, looking at the pretty pictures. And there was an ad for Pennsylvania Gunsmith School. And I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to go through college or trade school or whatever, and I'm going to be out of work, I might as well be out of work doing something I love, which is tinkering with guns. So I convinced my parents that this was the thing to do for me. And they hesitantly said, fine. And off I went to gunsmith school. Left college, took a leave of absence, started Gunsmith School, and I started Gunsmith School in the spring of 1984. And that was a 18-month course. It was 2,500 hours, I think it was. And went all through there, graduated, mostly good grades. And when I got out of Gunsmith School, I spent a couple of years traveling around, working in different little shops as a gunsmith, working some odd jobs and stuff. Everything I did was stuff that I had learned in gunsmith school. I worked at a cabinet shop for a little while, and I had learned stock making in gunsmith school. Worked as a machinist for a little while, and of course learned machining in gunsmith school. So I eventually worked for some small gun shops, and kind of puttered around and tried to do my own business in Ohio, where I was from. And then after I got married in the 90s, I decided, you know what, I'm going to try to get a job with a gun company as a gunsmith. And my wife and I spent a month sending out a shit ton of resumes to gun companies, and got a call back from Inner Arms. And they said, when can you come down for an interview? When the hell do you want me? I'll jump in the car, I'll drive down. And they said, well, we'll see you tomorrow. So my wife and I jumped in the car, threw some clothes in, I threw my suit in, thought I had all my clothes, went down for the interview. Boy, I looked sharp. My suit, tie, nice shirt, forgot my damn socks. Sitting there, had the interview with no damn socks on, looked like an idiot. But I got the job. Worked in Inner Arms for, I started in the spring of 1990, and I worked there through the end of 98, the beginning of 99, and then was laid off. And then about a year or two later, Inner Arms closed their doors. And we'll do more stories about Inner Arms and all the fun shit that happened there, weird stuff. And we'll also do stories about Gunsmith School and Chief and all the funny things that happened there. After Inner Arms, my wife was pregnant, had to take a job, did some management stuff at a couple of corporations, and wasn't really happy. Thought maybe for the grandkids, we should be closer to the family, so we moved back to Ohio. And I set up BWE Firearms. Worked doing some gunsmithing for a couple of years there. And had always wanted to do Gatling guns. And even though I wasn't ready, and I should have, hindsight, I should have just said, I'm not ready to do it. I was convinced by a family member, here's some money. Start making Gatling guns. Okay, fine. And that was, kind of a failure. Learned a lot, so. But did SHOT Show for a couple of years and did all that. Things were not going well in Ohio. So we decided we were on the verge of losing our house. So we decided at that point, we had come down to do SHOT Show in Orlando and the wife and kids came with me. The kids were young, and they did, while I was doing SHOT Show, they did all that. You know, Disney and Universal and SeaWorld and all that. And none of us wanted to leave. And when we were driving out of the state of Florida, it started to rain. And the kids looked at us and they said, the state of Florida is sad. We're leaving. The state's crying. And the kids were, you know, 3, 4, 5 years old. And we went back to Ohio and were there for about a year and said we were going to lose the house. Business was not great. And I looked at my wife and we said we should move down to Florida. And I looked at her and I said, go find a house. 5 minutes later, she had the kids in the car, clothes in the car, she's gone. Down to Florida, find a house. She found a house, we moved down here to Orlando and set the business up, started doing Gunsmith, and man, it's just been gangbusters. And that's where I am now. I hope you liked this video. If you liked it, please hit the little like button and subscribe to my channel. That would help me try to grow this thing a little bit. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comment section. And we'll see you on the next episode of Storytime with Mojave. You have a nice day.